yes. So, there's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. And I'd like you, when you catch on, to join in with that, okay? All right? This is a participatory song as much as you feel like participating with us. There's only one life. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one holy substance flowing in and throughout creation. Right here in this very moment, we are an expression of it. We are a beloved expression, born of perfection. Let's raise our hands and celebrate, because we know there's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There is only one holy substance flowing in and throughout creation. Right here in this very moment, you are an expression of it. You are a beloved expression, born of perfection. So raise your hands and celebrate, because you know there's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only that life is God's life, that life is perfect, that life is my life now. Yes, yes.
That was the extraordinary and exquisite musicianship of Sharon D. Henderson and Reflection, with Mark Rickey on keyboards, Lee Henderson on bass, Tony Simpson on guitar, Vino on drums, and of course, the incomparable Sharon D. Henderson on lead vocals. I want to point out that Sharon D. Henderson and Reflection will be at Wildflower Arts on November 23rd, 7 till 9 p.m. There's a sliding scale. You want to get in on that, yes? Absolutely. I'm so grateful for Reflection taking, or starting us out with that particular song, because I sense that it is the core of today's message. I'm sensing that Spirit is inviting us to remember something that is extraordinarily basic to anyone who calls themselves a metaphysician or a practitioner of science of mind philosophy. There is one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. It knows no mistakes, no errors, no flaws. That life, that perfect life of God, is my life now. It is the life that is living itself through me. Ooh, we might need a refresher today. We might need to go right back to the beginning, and, well, I'm here to assist in that effort. But let me begin where I ought to be beginning, by saying good morning. Good morning to all of you who are so beautifully arrayed in our wonderful sanctuary here at 5811 Racine Street, Oakland, California. Let me say also good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good tomorrow for those of you who are watching and joining online. We know that there are people across the country who are joining us that way. We know there are people internationally who are joining us that way. And so whatever time of day it may be for you, what I'd want you to know is that Heart and Soul Center of Light is one center with innumerable locations. We are wherever you are. You are joining us in spirit and causing a profound creation to happen in spirit, and I am extremely grateful for that. If you don't know who I am, and I haven't had the opportunity of meeting you yet, my name is Reverend Angelo Allen. I'm a staff minister here at Heart and Soul Center of Light. It is indeed my honor to stand in for Reverend Dr. Andriette Earle today at her pulpit, as it always is, and never more so than after our service last week. Because last week was some kind of special Sunday, was it not? Last week was, as you know, the first Sunday following the national election in these United States. And Reverend Dr. Andriette Earle, you know, she's been my teacher, my mentor, my friend, my sister for some 26 years, long before there was ever something called Heart and Soul Center of Light. And I watched her do what she does. She knew it was going to be some kind of different Sunday last week. And she walked out here, what she would call bare naked, That means in her truest, authentic self, just doing what she does, which is to embrace all of us and say, I know that you are feeling something. And it is important to acknowledge and call out the thing that we are feeling. And that's what she did. She passed around a microphone so those in the room could state how they were feeling. She invited those online through the live stream to weigh in on the chat. Let us know how you're feeling. And people expressed, yeah, we're feeling something. We're feeling fear. We're feeling disappointment. We're feeling grief. We're feeling anger. And we're feeling a whole new order of magnitude of anger called pissosity. I was grateful that people didn't hold back. And my wild guess is that some of us are still processing. Some of us are, even over the span of the last 7 days, have not fully come past where we have been. There are lots of sort of influences that seek to keep us riled up, that keep us uptight, that seek to keep us in those feelings of anger, grief, rage, disappointment. And Dr. Andriette told us something, did she not? She said that while it's important for us to feel whatever we're feeling, it is equally important to not stay stuck there. She said staying stuck in fear, anger, disappointment, and grief impacts our well-being physically, and I want to add mentally and spiritually. She enumerated 3 very important points, at least as I was watching. Typically, I'm in this room on a Sunday. It happened that I was out of state watching online on a television that was about this big. And one of the things that she said was, this is not the time to focus on what we do not want. Does anybody here want more fear? Anybody here want more depression, anger, No, we don't want that. We must not stay focused on those issues. And Dr. Andriette said the reason why we don't want to stay stuck there is because what we choose, what we select, is what comes up next for us. She talked about something that if you've been around Reverend Dr. Andriette Earle, she has said certainly as long as I've known her, that life is lived from the inside out. So if we are feeling inside the things that we don't want to feel, believe me, it finds a way of presenting itself into our lived experience, and kind of persistently, yeah? We're not wanting that. So, look, while we may know all of this as metaphysicians, it's still possible to live life from the outside in. If you want to do an experiment, and I don't recommend it, turn on the news if you want to live life from the outside in. If you want somebody projecting a picture in front of you and inspiring you to be enraged, to be upset, to be disempowered, that would be one way. There are others. I myself have gone on a holy hiatus from news, not because I don't believe in journalism. I still read the newspaper. But I am not inclined to go into some rage-pushing kind of sphere that just leaves me upset and unable to sleep. Am I by myself, or others understand? And so we may be still feeling something. I'm thinking of many, many years ago. I was somewhere, I don't remember, but I was where Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith of agape was speaking. And he was telling, this story of how somebody in his community one day came to him and they were completely unhinged. I'm talking about just a cascade of tears, slinging snot, hair going every which way. And the person came up to Reverend Michael and said, "Reverend Michael, I am going through hell." And Reverend Michael said, "Well, keep going. Just keep going." Reverend Michael wasn't trying to be flip. Reverend Michael was saying, do not stay, do not linger where your worst thoughts are. Keep moving through the experience until you emerge on the other side with something else to think about, something else to place your attention on. And so today, my aspiration is to embrace our feelings and then move toward knowing something different, emphasizing once again, it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling, but there does come a time to shift. We need to shift to what we know. Thankfully, reflection got us started off pretty good. We know there is one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life. Now, if you think that's going to be a refrain in this talk, you're right. You're going to hear it over and over again because I feel like we've forgotten. Some of us have. I know when I woke up on, Wednesday morning, the day after the election, I forgot. I forgot there was one life. I thought there might be 2, 3 lives. But what do we know? We know God. We know that God is. But what do we know about God? We have to remind ourselves, we know that God is perfect intelligence. Perfect, no mistakes, no errors, no flaws, no indiscretions. God is absolute love. Breathe that in. God is love. And that life is our life now. Regardless of anything that's going on outside of us, within us, there is a steady state of love. And that's beyond our brain center, our thinking center. It's in the major intelligence center of our heart. When we sift through all of the activity that is going on in the world and distracting us, we come to this, if we're wise, realization that there is only God and God is love. But that's not all that God is. God is not just all intelligence and all love. God is also law. See, love is what God is. Law is how God operates. And in Science of Mind, Centers for Spiritual Living, we teach that law is nothing less than spiritual principle. It is the rules of the road for how life gets to be the way it is. It is the way in which this process of our having a thought through some mechanism that is formless, invisible, and intangible tends to outpicture in our experience. That is principle, that is law, that activity that causes that to happen. Ernest Holmes put it this way. He said that love, God as love, points the way, and law makes the way possible. I'm trying to give us something that we can depend on if we are only willing to remember it. Love is our guiding light, and law ensures that the path unfolds when we act from love. Oh, but it can be challenging to act from love some days. And yet, I'm going to invite you to feel this truth with me, to feel that we must remember that we are love and to act from love, to think from love, to feel from love. It's also important, as we're going back to basics, to remember not only who God is, but who we are. We are not just some casual bystanders in life. We are not powerless. My beloveds, we are sons and daughters of the Most High God. We are authorized and empowered to be divine co-creators with all the power that there is, all the intelligence that there is, all the love that there is. There is no more exalted position to be in. That is who we are. That is what cable news or whatever you are getting, that outside external influence is never going to tell you. That you have agency, that you have power, that you are the shaper of reality. We need to be stepping into that creative power. We're actively shaping our lives moment by moment. How? Through our choices, through our beliefs, and through our actions. Everything we think counts. And that's why I'm calling us to be more present to what we're thinking. Everything we feel counts. That's why I'm calling us to be present to how we're feeling and to change how we're feeling. You know, when it comes to thinking and feeling, you can trick your brain into thinking anything. But you can't fool your feeling center. You can't fool your heart when it feels something. And we're feeling angry, disappointed, in grief, sad, whatever that may be, we can bring forth the reality of our existence that I am the beloved of God, I have power, and I am claiming something else is happening here. That's stepping into our power. The real question is, how are we showing up in any given moment? That's what we need to be conscious of. Are we remembering our power, or are we just going to feel at the mercy of outer events? You've got more power in more dimensions than you can imagine. I am remembering, long before I was a minister, I was a practitioner, and before that, a member of East Bay Church of Religious Science under the tutelage of my first teacher, the Reverend Dr. Eloise Oliver, whom I still love and adore to this very day. I remember she was doing a talk, and she said, "This is a game. It is the game of your life. And you get to play all the positions. You get to be the player and the official and the people in the stands. It's the game of your life." And she added a little more color to it, but basically what she described is that this is a baseball game. It's a baseball game, and here's what's happening. The pitcher winds up, throws the ball. The batter does not swing. The catcher catches the ball, and right away, the argument begins. The catcher says, "That was a strike." The batter said, "That was a ball, clearly outside the strike zone." And it goes back and forth until the umpire stands up and says, "It ain't nothing until I call it." That is your power. Whatever you may be told about what is going on in your life, in life in general, you get to stand and say, "I beg your pardon. This is my life. which is God's life, and I claim what is real. I claim what is happening. I get a say in what is happening. The good news that the game is not over. The game is never over. The game that you may be thinking about on a daily basis that may be disrupting your sleep these days, that game ain't over either. We have a say. We continue to project a world that works for everybody. That vision is a reality, as much a reality as anything else that somebody else would want to tell you. The game of your life is in your hands. No matter what the score says, no matter what the statistics say, no matter what the odds makers say, you get to choose. Does that work as an analogy? Well, all right then. But I think that as we consider what this moment means, we also need to make some personal choices. We need to ask ourselves some questions. We need to ask ourselves, what do I want? What do I want this moment to mean for me? That's the question. Do I want this moment to be meaningful? Do I want this moment to mean that my empowerment is at hand? I want you to keep that slide up there, if you please, because it's important for us to focus on. For those of you who like to take pictures of slides, now's the time. But it's important to keep in mind, what do I really want in this moment where I am most challenged? In this moment where I feel most threatened? In this moment where I feel most disrespected? Do I want to lose my mind, react and overreact in ways that do not serve me? Or do I want to be grounded, remembering that I have the power to claim something else? The next question would be, keep the slide going. How will I respond to life's challenges? I'm talking about, as you can see, our response ability, our ability to respond. We have all kinds of ways that we can respond. We can, curl up underneath the bed. We can take a definitive action, and we can be still. There is enormous power in being still, reminding ourselves to know what we know about God. When we are unhinged by the appearance of somebody else's reality, that is where we get to take responsibility. I choose to respond with a different vision that says there is justice, there is peace, there is a world that works for everybody. Women do have choice. I can vote my conscience and have it count, whatever it may be. We get to do that. And there's another question. That question is, what do I want to create? Because we've already established that we are co-creators with God. That is our only purpose, by the way. Whatever it is that you do for a living or have done for a living, that's sort of like, like in a stage play, that's kind of like the dressing, the background, the stage setting. You are here to create something. You're here to make life better, more reflective of a heaven on earth, more perfect living for yourself, your neighbors, your nation, your world, your family, for all of us. That is what we want. And here's what I want you to know about all of this, about what this moment may mean for you and how you may choose to respond and what you want to create. You are supported in all of it. absolutely supported. And you're supported through another aspect of principle. Remember, I talked about love and law, principle being law. We're talking now about the principle of right action, the law of right action. Now, I trust that you all have been reading our daily read, 365 Days of Richer Living. If you haven't, get you a copy. Start. It absolutely will transform your day. A useful tool to begin your day when you wake up a little worried about how things were yesterday and am I going to be facing the same sort of day today. Read that book. In this book recently, Dr. Holmes and Dr. Barker came up with this affirmation that the law of right action is operating in my life now. That's one sentence. Remember that one sentence when you're feeling confused and afraid. The law of right action, not wrong action, not confused action, not lost action. The law of right action is operating in and as and through me right now. It means that every constructive thing that you want, legitimate and constructive purpose that you have in mind, is going to happen. It's going to be successfully executed. You will have what you want, what you need, and you will be supported all the way. It means that you're going to be provided with everything that is required. You're going to know what to do, how to think, how to act, how to proceed. The right people are going to show up. The right money is going to show up. The right way is going to show up. And you will be liberated, but you've got to begin with knowing that the law of right action is never operating against you. It's always operating for you. It's important for us also, since we're going back to basics, to realize that it's important for us to see through false conditions. There's a lot of false imagery, false ideas, false conditions that are presented to us on a daily basis. We've just come through, and are still going through on some level, a political season. A political season that began, no matter who you voted for, with nominations. I want to talk about a special kind of a nomination, the nomination of spirit. I want to lift up, as you see the slide here, you'll notice that in the word nomination, I've highlighted N-O-M in red. That is because N-O-N, or nom, as the root word in Latin, means name. So to nominate means to call by name that whom you would want, which you would want to represent you, to stand for you, to stand with you. To nominate the Holy Spirit by name as the one who represents you, the one in whom you put your faith in. And we get to do that in a number of ways, but I'm going to suggest to you that you have a spiritual practice, and that spiritual practice includes meditation. Meditation is perhaps the oldest spiritual practice that transcends every culture, every race, every spiritual identity around the world through all of time. There has always been this practice in human experience. Why? Because it works, because it transforms things. Through the quiet nomination of spirit, in my meditation, I am quietly calling forth Spirit to stand for me. I learn to look calmly upon every false condition. The false conditions that you are presented with are like phantoms. They have no reality in the face of spirit. You see through it to the other side of an invisible reality that is formless, invisible, and intangible. It is the activity of God which is molding conditions and recreating your affairs in a more perfect pattern. You've got to have faith that this is happening, but you've got to be mindful that it's happening. You've got to know beyond just wishing and hoping and planning and dreaming. I'm really showing my age now. Trotting out. I'm channeling Dusty Springfield, and I don't know where that came from, but Dusty, you are welcome too. But yeah, it's an activity that we need to keep in our toolbox. So there is another question. Here we are. How will I proceed from here? How will I proceed from here knowing that I am a creation of the Most High Divine? Ooh, I wish I had more palatable news, because the hard work that all of us, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter who you voted for, it doesn't matter what you believe. What matters is if we are going to transcend this time of contention, we're going to have to really build a world that works for everyone. We're going to have to first build it in consciousness, and one way or another, that is going to involve mutual forgiveness. Forgiveness. I said the word. Many of us don't want to hear that word right now. Many will disagree. Many are feeling some kind of way the expression of all of those feelings are engaging in what I want to call the expectation of a soft retaliation. I've identified those who I thought we were natural allies. I thought you stood with me. I thought we believed and wanted the same thing. I thought that we were walking together toward this world that works for everybody, a new beginning, to reset into what may be an ascendancy of the divine feminine. And yet, when the time most counted, you stepped back, you stepped away, you left me abandoned and alone, and you chose something else. And so now I shall have my revenge. And my revenge will look like, when they come for you, do not look to me for help, assistance, alliance. What you can look forward to is my back. I'm here to tell you that it doesn't work. We feel what we feel. Let's breathe. Everybody breathe. We feel what we feel, and we're going to have to recognize that people do peoply things. And scared people make fearful decisions. Usually they make it on the spur of the moment. They don't know what to think when push comes to shove. They may go along with an idea right up to the very moment when it counts. Oh, are we forgetting, the story of the Garden of Gethsemane? when the master teacher, realizing the political forces that were arrayed against him, were coming for him, and asked his disciples, "Be with me at this time." And when the authorities came forward and took him, and they found themselves in flight and in hiding, the one who the master teacher identified as my rock, my Petros, Peter, said, I don't know that guy. No, I really don't know him. I've heard about him, but nope, we have never met. 3 times, the story says, look, we've all been Peter. There are Peters all around us. And they can be forgiven for being Peters, because I'm telling you right now, there are Peters who are regretting the fear that inspired them to forget who they are and whose they are. They forgot there is one life. That life is God-like. That life is perfect, and that life is my life now. It doesn't make them evil. It just makes them human. We need to remember that, y'all. I know that some will disagree. And there are those who say, well, I'm tired of turning the other cheek. I'm tired of resisting my impulse to fight. This is a time to fight. Okay. Maybe it's a time to fight. I'm not going to be that New Thought minister that tells you that fighting doesn't exist. Fighting is this aspect of negative. That fighting is a real thing. Now, it's really curious. If there's only one of us here, who are we fighting? I mean, unless you're in that movie Fight Club where you're a crazy person fighting yourself, but that's something else. There are those who are delighted at the idea that you may want to fight in an unruly, unhinged way that doesn't serve your interests, but in fact may serve their interests. Now, when it comes to a question like this, do I fight? Do I take up arms? I turn to Scripture, and there's a piece of Scripture. It's Ephesians 6:12. It talks about fighting, but it talks about who and what to fight. Starting with, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood. Meaning, this isn't about me trying to tear you apart and you trying to tear me apart. This is not fisticuffs. This is not dropping ordnance from the sky. This is not gunfire. This is against the rulers, the authorities, against the powers of this dark, messy thing that we find ourselves in, this thing that is against heavenly thoughts, heavenly ideas. Now, let me say clearly and unequivocally, I am not calling for violent insurrection against lawful government. That is not what Ephesians is saying. What Ephesians is saying, well, in science of mind, this verse symbolizes it's an internal spiritual battle where each one of us is fighting against our limited beliefs, the beliefs that are keeping us stuck and powerless, and that obscure the truth of our divine nature. The rulers, the authorities, and the powers actually are part of this metaphor. What they mean is that these are the deeply rooted mental constructs. They're the collective thinking that we're engaged in, the collective beliefs that perpetuate fear, that perpetuate separation, that perpetuate duality. They're not external forces. They aren't armies to go up against. That is the easy way of fighting, the actual battle that never ends, but serves to keep certain dynamics at the forefront. It's the manifestation of your own mind being misaligned from spiritual truth. That's why I'm working so hard here this morning to remind us of something. I'm trying to tell you what reflection told you. There is one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. I need you to remember it. If you don't remember anything else, remember to say that as your chant. And I want you to know, with regard to this idea of fighting, if there is a fight, we are fortunate that we live in a time where there is somebody who actually is willing to tell us how to fight. She has said, and if we could just show that slide of the fighter, she has said, my ask, her request, is that you also wage this fight in quieter ways. This came across my desk as recently as yesterday. In how you treat one another with kindness and respect, by always using your strength to lift people up and ensure that everyone has the dignity that they deserve. That's the kind of fighting I'm up for. If you got to fight, that's the only kind of fighting that will win, because we can't continue to hold each other, no matter what side of a political fence we are on. We can't continue to look at each other as monsters. We've been convinced that other people are monsters. I'm old enough to remember when it was not so. So, how are you feeling now? Something to think about. Well, let's do a check-in, because I want to make sure that there's something about what we've offered today that is sort of like taking hold. So if you're feeling empowered to live joyfully from the inside out, I want you to say with enthusiasm, I am. If you're willing to let Spirit guide and inform every good purpose in your life, why don't you say, I am? If you are willing to nominate the name of the Holy Spirit as the power that will recreate all of your affairs in divine perfection, say, I am. And if you are now feeling inclined to treat those who are with you and even those who are against you with kindness and respect, say, I am. I am. I am. And so it is.
An angel asked me, do you know who you are? The question and the answer is not very far. The song of the sages, the knowledge of the ages is living where you reside. You have the key that unlocks the door to enter in that place you haven't gone before, where to soul. Feel that connection as the truth unfolds. I am. Yes, you are the key that unlocks the door to freedom and leads you to be. Look deep inside you, trust the force that guides you. Well, it knows the way. There's no separation, we are one and the same. The child of the Creator, known by different names. The Alpha and Omega, the eternal flame that burns deep inside you. Do you know my name? I am. From the mountains to the oceans, I am. From the rocks to the trees, I am. All the stars and constellations, I am. You are. I am. From the mountains to the oceans, I am. From the rocks to the trees, I am. All the stars and constellations, I am. You are. Ooh, I am mystical. I am love. And you live in me from the very low to the heavens above. I am. Ooh, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am. There's no separation, we are one and the same. A child of the Creator, known by different names. The Alpha